So if you are in line by 6 p.m. today, you can vote. We need everybody to wait in line to make sure that they can vote, because if we don't vote, we're not going to be able to elect Bernie Sanders. And we need to elect Bernie Sanders. We need a political revolution. Hell yeah. Bernie Sanders is my candidate. Bernie Sanders reignited the passion that I needed for politics and activism when I was 16 years old. And when I was 8 years old, my mom was diagnosed with lupus. And my world completely turned upside down. My family went from higher middle class to complete poverty in a matter of months. And it's not something that anybody should have to endure. Even today, my family's still hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt. And 2 years ago, myself, I was diagnosed with lupus. So I will have to battle this disease for the rest of my life. And let me tell you, I'm not rich enough to be able to battle this disease for the rest of my life. That's why we need Medicare for all. We need universal health care. I can't help but think that if we had universal health care 12 years ago, that my mom wouldn't be disabled today. I can't help but think that. And so we definitely need to make sure we elect Bernie Sanders, who's going to be fighting for all of us, every single one of us, marginalized identities, marginalized groups here in the United States. So I really, really appreciated it for you all being out here today. I really love energy in this room today, and I'm really excited to see you all today at the polls. Like I said, I need you all to wait in line to make sure we vote. If you're not voting today, please show up on Caucus Day, February 22nd. And we need to elect Bernie Sanders. We need a political revolution. Have a great day, guys.
Please welcome Reno City Council member Jenny Breckus.
Hey there, Bernie Kratz. How are you doing? Y'all ready to deliver Northern Nevada for Bernie Sanders again? And then send him on with Nevada in the books to those other states and get the nomination? All righty, me too. My name's Jenny Breckus, and I'm a member of the Reno City Council. Before the senator comes on, I'd like to spend a few minutes and let you know why I am endorsing and caucusing for Bernie Sanders. If you listen to Senator Sanders, a lot of his message is about the influence of money in politics and the corrupting influence that has to empower special interests. I've run twice citywide against better funded opponents. And I know, like the senator, that it takes more work to win campaigns with people power. It's easier to rely upon lobbyists who can bring you checks. And that is why your numbers here today, your support, and your voice is critical to this people-powered campaign that has a lot of moneyed interests that it's facing off against. Yep. 4 years ago, it was pretty clear that people wanted an unorthodox leader to shake things up. Well, we got that and more. but not in the right direction. With Bernie Sanders, it is time to put someone who stood a little separate from the rest for a lot of years with an authentic voice for change. I know a lot of you are here today for the vision of Medicare for all, free public college, and to end those endless wars. And I'm with you, but I want to let you also know that I'm a city person, and I had to look into Senator Sanders' backgrounds and see what his presidency bodes for American cities. This summer, I had the opportunity to visit Burlington, Vermont. And what I saw there is a successful mid-sized college town that makes the most of its gorgeous setting, in its remote location, and its historic bones. That got me thinking, as I have for decades, because I'm a city planner, about what makes cities like Burlington work, what makes them thrive, what causes decline or growth. And I'm deeply concerned about how income inequality is playing out in the landscapes of our cities, particularly here in our fast-growing Reno. Our government response to what's going on here in our community is not what it should be. We've given away some of the largest tax subsidies in the nation's history. We've celebrated teardowns of low-income housing motels, and our vulnerable population has become residents on the riverbanks or in our shelters. And instead, we have policies that advance expense. I'm supporting Senator Sanders because I know that he understands that cities face big challenges and that he will be one to restore the partnership of cities with the federal government. Finally, we've all heard ad nauseum about electability, and I want to talk about likability. I want to talk about the passion that comes from being a voice for people who are not at the table because they don't have lobbyists or can't afford to write big checks so politicians remember their names. I think that a political persona that is sometimes deemed uncompromising, strident, or any similar tag, and I've had that leveled at me, is actually a reflection of someone who's up to do the job of being in public office. Because at the end of the day, being a leader is about making difficult decisions and the right decisions. I believe that Senator Sanders is someone who's surrounded by family, close friends, and grounded in the places that he has known. And that is why he stands authentically on the right side of issues and has a compelling and bold vision to lead our country in the forward direction it needs to go. That's why I'm so excited to be with all of you today and to be a voice for Bernie Sanders and the change he brings. So let's move on. Thank you.
Please give a warm welcome to Francisca Smith.
All right, hello. So, like they said, my name is Francisca, and I realized that I could tell my entire life story through Bernie policies, but we don't have time for that. So I'm going to give you all the highlights. I moved to America in the early 2000s with my American father and sister. My non-American mother moved here about 3 years ago, which was the first time I got to hug her since I was a child. We didn't expect there to be so many complications in moving our family here, but my family persisted in hopes we would be able to take advantage of the opportunities here. Our immigration system in the United States needs to be changed. It is brutal and just tears families apart, as we have seen more so in the recent years. Medicare for all. Yeah. I don't remember a time when my father wasn't in constant pain or sick, but I do remember all the times he refused treatment because of the financial cost, which inevitably cost him his mobility and ability to live independently. I don't think he would be alive right now if our family hadn't come together to take him through the process of being enrolled in the VA to access affordable health care as a veteran, because he could not do it on his own. Education. After 5 years of being on this campus, I am about to graduate with my degree in political science and music. I'm so happy. Yes. I almost graduated debt-free through my financial aid packages that I qualified for, but due to the company I worked for filing for bankruptcy last year, I lost my job along with the other workers in their 2,500 plus stores across the North America. Fun fact, I recently found out they still exist on Amazon. Right? I cannot imagine how much money they save from no longer employing enough people to manage those 2,500 stores across our nation, but I can't imagine how myself and other students are going to struggle post-graduation to pay off our loans. I can tell you about completing high school without easy access to high-speed internet and the challenges I faced getting to college. I can tell you about the motel or rentals. I could tell you about what it's like to never know when you had to pack up your belongings and leave the motel or rental you're in, never knowing what a home truly feels like because stable housing is a struggle. I can share what it's like living untreated with a neurological development disorder and untreated mental illnesses. Hello, I am ADHD, and shout out to my other fellow neurodiverse populations. I love you. Yes, cool. But I invite you to look into Bernie's policies and imagine what your life will be like with them. Then I want you to share it, because there's no shame in your stories of struggle. There is pride as we come together. And I want you to share however you want on social media, face to face, so we can come together as a community across the nation and truly see the ways our current system isn't working for the majority of us and for each other. I want us to fight for ourselves, our community, our families, and for each other as we build a better future together. Let's win this! Now please welcome our future president, Senator Bernie Sanders!
And let me thank Jenny and Jesse Dunn of Dead Winter Carpenters, the Moogleys, Patricia De La Hoya, and Jenny Breckus for her remarks as well. I think Francisca set the tone for what we are trying to do in this campaign. And it comes down to being honest. It comes down to taking a hard look at where we are as a people, trying to understand how we got to where we are, and then thinking about where we want to go. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Yet most of us don't know that because almost all new income and wealth goes to the people on top. Now, you won't see this discussed much on corporate television. You won't hear it discussed in the U.S. Congress. But you have got to determine whether you feel comfortable with 3 people in America owning more wealth than the bottom half of America. With the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 92%. In Nevada and Vermont, my state, all over the country, people are often working at starvation wages. They're working 2 or 3 jobs. People are spending 50%, 18 million people, families, spending 50% of their income on housing. We got 87 million people who are uninsured or are underinsured. We have a corrupt political system which allows billionaires to buy elections. So that is what this campaign is about. It's looking at the painful truth, to know that in virtually every family in America, there's a struggle going on. We got all kinds of addiction. We got alcoholism. We got drug addiction. We got opioid problems. We have people today, 500,000 of them, sleeping out on the streets. And yet we give tax breaks to billionaires so that the very rich get even richer. And then we got a president who not only is a pathological liar, but he is running a corrupt administration. He apparently has never read the Constitution of the United States of America. He is undermining American democracy. He is a bully. He is a vindictive person. And he thinks that he is above the law. So we got news for Mr. Trump. Nobody in this country, not even the President of the United States, is above the law. You're going to be a one-term president. We're getting rid of you. Now, what we have in a political system is that people who have enormous amounts of money can make incredible contributions. They can contribute hundreds of millions of dollars into the political process to elect candidates who represent the rich and the powerful. And in some cases, they can even run for office themselves. So here is the message. anybody here worth $60 billion, you can run for president. And you can buy the airwaves. My friends, that is called oligarchy, not democracy. Now, I'm not worth $60 billion. And we don't have a campaign with unlimited amounts of money. But what I am enormously proud of is that our campaign, as of today, has raised more campaign contributions from more people, averaging $18.50 than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. In other words, you know, as somebody who grew up in a working class family, I am proud to tell you that our campaign is the campaign of the working class, by the working class, and for the working class. And we're going to win this election not because we are buying the airwaves, as Mr. Bloomberg is. We're going to win this election because we are putting together the strongest grassroots movement that this country has ever seen. And what we have and have had, we had it in Iowa, we had it in New Hampshire, we're having it in Nevada right now, South Carolina, California. We got thousands and thousands and thousands of people knocking on doors, making the phone calls. That is how you win an election. And we're going to win this election because we have an agenda that speaks to the needs of working families, not the billionaire class. And our agenda is pretty simple. It says that if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. It says equal pay for equal work. It says that we're going to make it easier for workers to join unions. It says that we're going to create millions of good-paying jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. And it says here at the University of Nevada, it says that all of our young people, regardless of their income, have the right to get a higher education without going into debt. And that is why we're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. How many of you are going to be struggling or are struggling with student debt? We're going to cancel all student debt in this country. And we're going to pay for that, which is an expensive proposition. We're going to pay for that through a modest tax on Wall Street speculation. And when we talk about changing priorities in America, we're going to end the international embarrassment of being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. Now, I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. I live in Burlington, Vermont. Somehow or another, for decades, the people of Canada, our neighbor, have figured out a way that all people can go to the doctor without taking out their wallet or their credit card. Figured out a way that if you end up in the hospital for a major operation, you leave the hospital, you know how much you pay? Zero. They guarantee health care to all of their people, and they spend half as much per capita as we do. So it's not just Canada, it's all over Europe. We are spending by far the most amount of money per person on health care, and yet, at the end of the day, you know what we have? You got 87 million uninsured or underinsured. You got 30,000 who are dying every year because they don't get to a doctor on time. Next time you go to the doctor, ask her, how many people they've treated who have walked into their office too late and their situation was terminal and it could have been prevented. We are paying by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You all know that? In some cases, we're paying 10 times more for the same exact medicine, insulin, other medicines. Why? Because the pharmaceutical industry owns the United States Congress. Well, we got news for the drug companies. That ownership is going to end very soon. And when we talk about a cruel healthcare system, I want all of you to appreciate this. Every year, some 500,000 Americans go bankrupt because of medically related debt that they can't pay. Think about it for a second. You're a normal family, you're a working class family, a middle class family. Somebody in the family is diagnosed with cancer, serious cancer. You have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on treatment. You can't pay that bill. Your family goes into financial ruin. What kind of healthcare system exists which bankrupts people who are struggling with cancer and other diseases? That is unacceptable. We're going to change that. And whether the drug companies like it or not, and whether the health insurance companies like it or not, the time is long overdue for this country to move to a Medicare for all single-payer program. We got a president who embarrasses us every day, but on the issue of climate change, he is not only an embarrassment and a danger to us, but to the entire world. So President Trump, let me be the first to tell you, climate change is not a hoax. It is an existential threat to this planet. And I am proud to tell you that our campaign has introduced the most sweeping climate change proposal ever introduced by any candidate for federal office. It is based on the principles of the Green New Deal. It will create up to 20 million good-paying jobs as we transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Our administration will listen to science, not to right-wing extremists. And this issue of climate change is an issue of enormous moral responsibility. We have the moral choice to make sure that we leave this planet to our kids and future generations in a way that is healthy and is habitable. We cannot do otherwise. So this means telling the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. And our agenda deals with a broken and racist criminal justice system. We will not continue having more people in jail than any other country. We're going to invest in our young people in jobs and education, not more jails and incarceration. We're going to end private prisons and detention centers. We're going to end the so-called war on drugs and legalize marijuana. We're going to expunge the records of those arrested for marijuana. And when we talk about systems that are broken, That means ending the current broken immigration system. As the son of an immigrant, a young man who at the age of 17 came from Poland, who didn't have a nickel in his pocket, couldn't speak a word of English, had very little education. I will not tolerate the continued demonization of the undocumented in this country. On day one, we will restore the legal status of the 1.8 million young people and their parents eligible for the DACA program. We will end our current border policy so that under our administration, no federal agent will ever be grabbing tiny babies from the arms of their mothers. No federal agent will ever be throwing children into cages or separating families. We're going to end the ICE raids that are demonizing and frightening communities all over this country. And I believe that we will be able to do what should have been done decades ago. And that is, the American people want comprehensive immigration reform and a path towards citizenship for the undocumented. So our campaign is a campaign that says we must defeat Trump, but we must do more than that. We must bring our people together to transform our economy and our government so that we have a government that represents all, not just the few. Now, I'm very proud that we won the popular vote recently in Iowa, that we won the New Hampshire primary, and now we are in the middle of the Nevada caucus. So when I'm here today, and as you know, for the first time, the Nevada caucus now allows for early voting, which I think is a good idea. So I'm here today, and I guess we're going to take a little walk together. I am here today to ask you to vote early. Get that ballot in, okay? And I'm asking for your support. Together, I believe we stand a good shot to win here in Nevada. I think we can win in South Carolina. I think we can win in California. I think we can win the Democratic nomination. And I'm absolutely certain we're going to defeat Donald Trump. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is take a little walk to the polls. People ready to walk a little bit? You know, I think back now, I'm thinking back, some of you may be familiar with Nelson Mandela. Remember that? And his fight for freedom in South Africa. And people marching to the polls. And I'm thinking about the civil rights movement and people marching to the polls. Well, we're fighting to change America. Let's go out. I think the polling booths are pretty close to here. Is that right? Student Union building? All right, let's take a little walk. Let's vote. Let's change America. Thank you.